Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Abhijit, and in this video series of F5 we will do different case studies on F5 technologies, as well as we will do the hands-on experience on the lab, in the lab environment which we will set up. So this is the first video of this F5 series, and we will first see the installation on VMware Workstation. So you need to have the license of Workstation, and there are some system requirements which you need to basically have it, because this F5 is not the only device we will be running. We will be having the backend servers, the RHEL, so that we will actually simulate the data center in on our laptop, in our virtual machines. So if you want to if you want to run this F5 device, as well as the VMs, the Windows, as well as the Linux servers in the backend, you need to have some bigger amount of memory. So all those requirements we will check in the system requirements. Okay, so the next step we will see in this video is the F5 installation steps. So there are some pre-checks we need to do before we proceed with actual installation, like for example, you need to get the license for F5. Yep, that's true. You need to have a license. Doesn't matter even if you have the ISO file with you, or even the OVA file with you. It doesn't matter with that. You can fire up the OVA or run the ISO in your virtual machine, but ultimately when you're done with the installation, you need to you need to enable the modules, the resource modules, which F5 provides, with the license keys. Okay, so for that you need to have the licenses. And one good news for the learners like us is that F5 provides the free trial license of 60 days. So what is the procedure for to get these licenses, and all the details, the links to download the F5 ISO or the OVAs, these all details we will see in this step. And once we are done with the pre-checks or the F5 installation steps, we will proceed with the lab, wherein we will install the F5, as well as we will configure the license. So before beginning, for those guys who doesn't know what is F5, what is load balancing, F5 is one of the giants in the industry of load balancers. We have different competitors like the Radware, and now even Citrix is got with their version of load balancing. So before these actual load balancers came in picture, we used to have something called as DNS load balancing, wherein guys used to have different IP addresses configured for their URLs, and for the request is the for the URL, if you are hitting, it is to go to any of these IP addresses. That was called as DNS load balancing. So basically, if you do something called as NS lookup on your laptop, provided followed by the URL, you will be able to see the IP address which is configured. So if any website has more than one IP address, they are doing the DNS load balancing. So that is also one of the way of load balancing. But what F5 does is that if you have a server, okay, on which you host, see, this is a server. Okay, I'll just draw it for you. Does it look like a server? All right, see, look at this as a server. Okay, you have one server called as A, wherein you have hosted one website. Okay, so at the time of installation of the website, you don't know what is the traffic it will be getting and all those details. But the good news is, if your website is liked by many people around the world, and and they want to access it more frequently, this server won't have the load to accumulate all the incoming traffics. All right, so ultimately this server will crash. So it needs to have someone, either you have two options in this sense. Okay, either you can increase the RAM and capacity of the servers. Okay, but the problem with this is that it will be only till certain limit. Okay, because you cannot have a server a single server which can take load of all the traffic around the world. Okay, you need to have something called as load balances, wherein you need to have similar kind of multiple servers, okay, which will also do the same kind of task what your main server is doing. Okay, so if you want to load balance your traffic by multiple servers, you need to configure them same as the first server. It should have the same websites which others are having, so that is the only purpose. It needs to have the same configuration as well. Okay, but about the IP addresses, it cannot have the same IP address. That's obvious thing. So the thing is, how we do load balancing is that these three servers are a part of one particular network. Okay, maybe say 10.1.1.0, okay, slash 16. All right, so this is dot 1, so this is 10.1.1.1, this is dot 2, and this is dot 3. Okay, so these all servers, between these servers we need to do the load balancing. So this F5 will have something called as backend network. Okay, so this is a backend network. Okay, I'll do one thing, I will just rub out rest of the things. Let me clear out these things to avoid confusions. Just go. All right, where's my pen? Okay, so now you have created a load balancing setup wherein you have three load balancers, and over the internet, okay, where the users are sitting, they will hit on one particular IP address. Previously they were hitting on this IP address, in the sense when you have configured your URL, the IP address to resolve was given as this, but now you will do a change, slight change. You will configure a virtual IP address on this F5. Okay, and say the IP is 1.1.1.1, the public IP. Okay, this will have this is the public IP resolution for the URL which you are hosting. Okay, so ultimately all the traffic will be coming to this IP address, which is the part of VIP. Now F5, you will have to configure it in such a way that all this traffic will get to the load balance between these servers. So that is the basic, very basic things. There are a lot of things that you need to take care about. There are a lot of things where you need to do configurations, and there are a lot of terms and terminologies and a lot of concepts. All right, so these all details we will see in the upcoming videos after we are done with the installation in this video. The purpose why I have given you this setup is that you need to get idea on why we are doing the F5, why we are studying the F5. Okay, and if you are from networking background specifically, I would like to tell you that don't stick it to networks itself. Okay, we need to study the backend as well. So in this series we will also do the configuration of actual backend server, the RHEL, the Red Hat Enterprise Linux. We will do the Apache configuration on the RHEL server. Okay, so that the RHEL server will host the websites. We will create a websites, a simple websites. Okay, so these all details we will do. We will configure the backend servers. There is something called as a self IPs over here, and there is something called as automap, wherein that is automap technology, this SNet technology. All these wonderful things we will study in the upcoming videos. Okay, so now let's begin on with this video. First we will go ahead with the installations. So first thing, you need to install VMware Workstation on your host. For the detailed configuration of VMware Workstation so that we can use for the VMs, you can follow my video that I have specifically made for VMware Workstation. So first thing is very key important is that you need to install VMware Workstation on your host. Your VM should, that is the F5 virtual machine, will be having 4 GB of RAM and 50 GB of hard disk. Regarding the F5 installation steps, I have told you previously, you need to first register yourself for the F5 if you want to use the 90 days trial period. The URL for that is f5.com/product/trials/product trials. if this doesn't work, then you can just Google out and try F5 free trial for 90 days. I'll just show it to you. You can just go to Google and F5 free trial, and this is the link. So this needs your registration. So you can see this, try F5 in your environment, get a free 90 days trial, and you can register or log in. I have already registered for this portal, and once I've logged in, it will you can give the purpose of your trial, the job function you're doing, and how many trial keys you need. So I just ask for three keys, so that you know, once one key you can use at a time. So once you create the dossier for that, then and you install your F5 on the virtual machine, and somehow if the F5 doesn't work for you and you have to reinstall these things, in that case you cannot use the same key which you used it earlier. So for that reason, if it's better to use to have three keys for this installation. So once you're done with F5, once you're done with registration, you need to download the F5 OVA. So for downloading, you just need to go to my account. In there you see the downloads link over here, and from here you can just click on find download. And since we are installing on virtual environment, you need to click on any of these versions, and just go for virtual edition. Yes, you can see it over here, virtual edition. So you can see basically this 13.1.0 version is available for different platforms. One is for AWS cloud, one is for Azure cloud. So you can see what are the different platforms where we can deploy the F5 settings. Not only this is basically for the normal ISO file which you get, which you need to install on the F5 platform, maybe you know big IP 1600 or maybe whichever it is. Or but for the virtual environment, we need to click on this virtual edition. Then it will specifically ask you which virtual edition you want to install. So basically we will be installing this on VMware Workstation. There won't be any, if you see here, uh, there is no option for workstation, right? So the thing is, you need to install this. You can get this for ESXi server, and this usually works for the workstation because the vendor is same for both. Alright, so once you click on this, it will ask you for the nearest downloading location. So based on your geographic location, you can choose the nearest downloading server, and once done, then it will just install the 1.5 GB OVA file. I've already downloaded this, so I'm just going to cancel this, and we'll see the next steps. So the next step is proceed for installation. So now we will see the installation and license setup for this. So I'll just check my VMware image. Okay, so here I have downloaded the OVA for 11.5.1. Just double click to fire it up. I will just choose the directory where it will hold the VMDK files. I'll just create a new folder for 11.5.1. Let me just verify 5.11.5. And the same name I will give it to the virtual machine. Just let me copy that. Okay, and just click this over here, and alright. So once this is done, click on next. So now my OVA has installation is beginning. Just accept the license, and this will start the configuration of our OVA, the F5 load balancer. So for now I am going to pause this video so that it will begin with the configurations. Okay, so now I have done with the extraction of the OVF onto my virtual machine. You can see over here the configure basic memory it's showing is 4 GB. The processors are 2, 80 GB hard disk, 2 GB it's SCSI hard disk, and it has got 4 bridge adapters. So I'm not going to change anything apart from this bridge adapter settings. I will configure them as per the VMnets I have created for this lab environment. So for this interface I'll click on for VMnet 0. For next one it should be VMnet 1. This one will be VMnet 2, and the final one will be VMnet 3. So for rest details it will remain same. I'll click on OK, and we will power on this virtual machine. So this is the graph screen. Basically it asks from which directory we want to install this this F5. So basically after we do the upgrades, subsequent upgrades in the next video, it will show up more locations from where you want to boot this device. So this has begun with the installation. Okay, so now I will pause this video because there is this installation doesn't need any user intervention. After once this is done, then it will directly ask for the user ID and the login screen where we have to provide a default credentials. Okay, so now this is done with the installation, and if you see, we didn't provide it anywhere the user ID and password. The thing is that for F5, when you begin with, there is a default user ID and password you have for this version. So I guess it is root and default. The user ID should be root and password should be default. I'll just try it. Root and default. Yep, it works. And now we can see there is no license configured for this, and this is the bash command line for the F5. And if you want to go to tmsh, just click on, just type tmsh and hit enter. So now this is the tmsh for the F5. So now what I will do is that I will just configure the management IP so that I can have the GUI access for this product. The command is list, it says management IP. Alright, so this is not okay, so this is configured and it is 192.168.0.128. so let me just 1 minute, let me try to ping now one of my host machine 0.1. I'm not able to ping, so it is messed up with something called as the NIC card, so I need to check now. 1 minute, config/more. So this IP address is configured for ETH0, which is having the NIC F51C, so I need to check which is the adapter it has taken up. F51C. Alright, so go to advanced F51C, that is the correct one, and this one is using NAT configuration and is connected. Okay, so just checking if it reaches the internet. It neither. Okay, it reaches the internet. So why it's not reaching my host machine? Alright, it's working, so maybe it took some time. So one thing is that what I did just now is I just checked which adapter we have configured 4 network adapters onto our virtual machine, and I can see over here that ETH0 is having this IP address and it has got this MAC address. So to see which NIC, which VM adapter it takes up, we just need to refer this hardware address. It's F51C. Just go on to VM, go to settings, and In this you can just click any of this, and to check the MAC address of this network adapter you can go to advanced, and you can see over here. So this was the NIC which is configured, and since this is VMnet 0, I have configured this to use 192.168.0 network, which was correct, and eventually it was working for this. So I'll do now one thing. I will just click on Internet Explorer, and I will try to access the web UI portal for this. Stop this and let's go for HTTPS 192.168.0.128. Ask me later more information. Proceed for this website. The default credential for this as well will be admin and default. Just click on login. If you see for CLI, I tried root and default, and for this it should be admin and default. Why it's not taking? Let me try root and default. Alright. So for default credential for web UI is admin and admin. Yes, I remember this. For CLI it is root and default, meaning root is the username and default is the password. For web UI the username is admin and the password as well is admin. So now we have logged in. So you can see this is the web UI for F5. This is the standalone appliance. It is online and active, and the provisioning warning, because this provisioning in the sense the F5 product comes with different provisioning, resource provisioning. One is for LTM, one is for GTM, for APM, and different kind of things. And to have these things used into your machine in your environment, you need to have specific license for this resource provisioning. So I have taken 90 days trial, and with this license I can only use LTM and APM, but it's showing me provisioning warning because I have not yet configured the license. So in this left side you can see this setup utility introduction license. So these, as we'll be configuring and doing next it will go from top to down everywhere, and once we are done with this we will be done with the F5 setup. So we'll first now go for the setup utility. It just shows to begin with configuring this big IP system, please complete this setup utility. To begin, click next. So the license is not activated, and meanwhile, as I've told you in the first step, I had requested for 3 licenses, and I got an email from F5 with these license details. So I'll do one thing. I will just go ahead and click on activating this license, and I will just enter the base registration key. Alright, so before I proceed with this, you can see this one has got the license you can activate using automatic. And if you want to do automatic, it needs to have internet connectivity, and you can do it manual. Alright, so if you are doing it manual, we just need to have base registration keys and go to the portal, fetch the license and proceed with the installation. But since I have the internet access for this, I can go ahead with this, but you know what, it's cool to go manual. Okay, so I will just enter the registration keys, one of the registration keys which I have got from F5, and as you can see, because I have clicked manual, these things are not working for me. So once the registration key is entered, I will click on next, and this one has given me one kind of text over here. This is called as a dossier, and this I need to paste it on F5 portal which they have given over here. This is the licensing server. Click here to access the F5 licensing server. I will go to this. Alright, and here I need to paste the dossier. So this dossier, Control A, Control C, and I will do paste, Control V over here, and I will do next. This is the agreement. Yes, agree and go ahead. and here I've got the F5 license, so I can basically download and upload it over here, or else I can just copy Control A and copy this entire stuff and paste it over here. Okay, now I'll click on next. So now it has accepted this license, and now it is going to reboot my machine. Alright, so I have paused this video for the time it was fetching this license, and now it has kind of restarted some services, and it will refresh again, and I will try to log in with the admin credentials. And now you can see the warning for resource provisioning is gone, and here is the beautiful thing, the resource provisioning. Okay, so these are all the modules they have given me for this trial version. The LTM is there, it is licensed, it's for nominal. See, if you when you see this module, how to read these things. See, these are all the modules you can see over here. This is the license state, and this is the provisioning. Okay, so even though it is licensed, it doesn't mean that it is installed on my machine. So for the LTM, it is licensed, and I can use it nominal or dedicated or minimum. Dedicated in the sense no other modules will be installed for this thing. So same way, the management is provisioning is small, and for ASM license, but I have not used it. So this video session and this series will be for basically for the LTM purpose. So I will go ahead with this LTM, and I will proceed with the installation. Also, you can see the CPU its management is taking 10%, and TMSH will be is taking almost 90%. The disk is 44 GB, and memory, it's so basically what it is doing is that now, as of now, on my machine only two modules are active. One is management and one is LTM, and this is the resource allocation both of them are having as of now. Okay, you can see the CPU LTM is only 1%. So anyways, I'll go ahead with the next step now. So this is the server certificates. So this actually is the certificate you will be using to access the web UI portal. So basically, most of the time it is the self-sign certificate. It just asks you if you have the valid CA certificate. So I don't need that CA certificate. The self-sign will work for me. So the platform, it will ask for the host name and all these details. I will just paste the host name which I have already used for that. So it is 11.5.1 underscore A. Let me go ahead. 11.5.1 underscore A. The host IP address will use the management IP address. Time zone is fine. The passwords, I will choose my defined passwords. For admin account also you have to define it. The SSH will be enabled, and anyone can access this SSH. If you want only few networks from your machine to access this, then you need to specify it over here. But for me, I want all these subnets to access this network. So I'm proceeding to the next step. It says, since you have updated your password, you will be logged out and must log in with the new password. That's fine. So I'm adding the admin credential and new password. Okay. So now we will begin with the network configuration. So this is the standard network configuration, and you need to create the concept for redundancy, VLAN, and all the settings throughout over here. So I'll just click next for beginning, and now here is the redundancy options. So as I am having only one device over here, so redundancy doesn't mean anything, so I'll just click next to keep the default settings. So now we will begin with the configuration of internal network. So as F5 primarily has two different networks, like the external as well as the internal. The internal network is a part of a network where the backend servers will reside. And one important thing to understand about F5 is that for every VLAN we will have a self IP. So this self IP, you can understand it as the interface IP address which backend servers will use to use the default routes, to configure the default gateways. And this is not the only purpose it serves. The self IP also has many different functions. So these are all details about the self IP as well as the floating IPs we will see in the upcoming videos, because it needs us some extra understanding, which we will certainly learn in upcoming videos. So now I'm going to configure the self IP, and it's for these available interfaces. I'll just try the IP address, and that was 1.120, and the net mask will be slash 24. This setting will be, I'll just keep it default, and the floating IP I will configure will be 1.30. And I need to understand if I want to which particular interface, and if I want this IP, meaning internal network interface, to be tagged or untagged. If I want to specify it over here, any specific VLAN, I can configure the VLAN over here and then click on next. But for now I will keep it auto, so that F5 itself will select the VLAN ID for me. Alright, so I have used interface 1.1 and it will be untagged. Click on next. So now we are done with the internal network configuration, and now we will begin with the external network. So remember, for external network as well, you need to configure the self IP address. So which this self IP address will be referred by the external IP address wherever we want to configure the VIPs, the virtual IPs, which will be the part of external. So for this I will just refer 1.2 interface, and the network will be 192.168.2.20/24. The interface I will choose is 1.2, and I will keep the VLAN as auto, and I'll click on next. So remember, for internal network I have chosen 192.168.1.0, and for external will be 192.168.2.0 network. So this is the high availability settings I have not configured, and I don't want to configure right now because I have only one device. So I wanted to use the self IP from the selected IP which we have already configured. Okay, so I'll just click on next. Now the next step will be the config sync. Okay, so for config sync, this actually works when you have the HA set up. So I will keep by default whatever setting is there, and here we have the failover settings. The failover also doesn't make any sense if you don't have two devices. So this has nothing to do over here. We will see all these configurations later on when we set up the second device as well, and we will study on the high availability and all this config sync, failover, mirroring, all these configurations. So this mirroring configuration also I will keep on default since I am on standalone. And now I will click on, I'll go ahead with the next step. So basically I don't have to do anything over here because this whole setting is for the high availability cluster. I'll just click next, and this has done with the web UI configuration, and basically we are done with the F5 configurations. So in the left hand side you can see the VIPs, the portals where you can configure the virtual IPs, and the network maps we can see. Here once we have configured the VIPs, we'll be able to see the IPs and all the nodes over there. The system will just quickly check the image what is running right now. it should be 11.1.5. Click on software management image list. Let it load. Yep, it is 11.5.1. Just click on hotfix. You can install the hotfix over here. So this video we will stop over here. So the quick review on what we have done in this video. We checked on system requirements, which our F5 will be running just the 4 GB of RAM and the 4 NICs, which directly comes preloaded on over the OVA, which we have downloaded from the F5 website. We checked on the installation procedure. That is, first we got the license keys from F5 website by registering to their account, and we downloaded the ISO or the OVA files from there itself, and then we did with the installations. That is pretty easy compared to Checkpoint or something like that, because just you need to fire up this OVA and everything will be done. The main thing which we did over here was the license setup, wherein we just we just gave the registration key and got the dossier and pasted it on the F5 website, and just got the license material and we gave it as input. So that was the manual way we did it. It is also possible from automatic way. So in the next video series we will do the initial configurations and settings. So that's it for this video now. For more information you can visit our website lexep.com/elearning. Please do subscribe to our channel. I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for watching.